So back in June of 2023 this year, I did a video titled 5 characters I'd like to see return in the next Mass Effect game, whether it be Mass Effect 4, 5, Andromeda 2, whatever it's going to be. And today I'll be doing a sequel to that video with 5 more characters I'd love to see in the next game, so let's get started.
Lockhart QT.
So this could be a rather unscripted video, but I did just want to cover 5 characters that I would like to see in the next game, starting off, of course, with Grunt. So in the previous video I covered Rex, and I wanted to cover Grunt as well, because I feel like he's a character I'd very much like to see. Personally, I love Grunt, I really do. In Mass Effect 3, the Citadel DLC, I chose the voice line where you say, "You're my hero, Grunt," after he gets arrested and you sort of bail him out. I just love Grunt, and seeing where his development has come from since Mass Effect 2, I'd love to see where Grunt goes after this, in terms of, does he continue sort of working with Clan Erdnot? Like how does he age? Does he mature? Does he become less violent? Again, we'll need to wait and see. But again, it depends. In all of these characters, it depends on solely when the timeline is set. Primarily with what BioWare have shown us so far, we're thinking that potentially it could be sort of 1 to 10 years after Mass Effect 3's ending, but again, we'll have to wait and see on how that affects Grunt. Next up is Miranda. So Miranda's an interesting one because obviously another character from Mass Effect 2, but personally, if she does return in the next Mass Effect game, I'd love to see her interactions with the main character, if it is Shepard, if it's not, her interaction if characters like Jack return, for example. I'd love to see if there is a romance option. I'd love to see it more fleshed out if she is a returning squad member, because I feel like Miranda fans in Mass Effect 3 got snubbed pretty hard. I feel like Mass Effect 2 they did really well, and then with her romance in 3, not so much. But I'd love to see her more fleshed out as a character. How is she adapting to life in the Alliance, if she's gone with the Alliance? And depending on where the story goes in the next game, if Cerberus are involved, I'd love to see the aftermath of her own family drama with her father and her sister, as well as Cerberus, because Cerberus, probably if there are remnants of Cerberus still around in the galaxy, they will be hunting down Miranda endlessly, so we'll have to see how that plays out. Next up is Kaiden / Ashley. So this is a bit cheating, like in the last video I'd sort of did Joker and ED as one. Kaiden and Ashley, it makes a bit more sense though, because they technically are the same character slot. Obviously they're 2 different characters entirely, and in Mass Effect 1 obviously they interact with each other, but which is really odd, by the way, if you go back and play Mass Effect 1, because you know the fate of one of them depending on which one you pick. But again, obviously depending on who you pick in Mass Effect 1, one of them dies, one of them carries on. But personally with Kaiden and Ashley, I'd love to see their development from obviously going from a sort of low-ranked soldier officer in Mass Effect 1, and then obviously they go all the way through to sort of N7 and even Council Spectres in Mass Effect 3. Personally, I'd love to see how they help us in the next game, and how perhaps they could be a mentor role, depending if it's like 10 to 20 years in the future. Perhaps Kaiden or Ashley could be more of a mentor, helping us become a Spectre if we are a new character, or if it is Shepard, perhaps they return to the Normandy and return in the crew. Again, we'll have to wait and see. Next up is Samara. Samara's a really interesting character. I almost think that she's like a Jedi Knight level character in the Mass Effect sort of universe. She's wise, she's much older than a lot of the characters because she's Asari. But personally, I'd love to see the aftermath of her family drama. And again, I guess you could technically put Morinth, but I think even if you pick Morinth, doesn't Morinth die anyway in Mass Effect 3? Again, yeah, I'm not 100%. I haven't actually picked Morinth for a very, very, very long time, in years and years and years. But in terms of Samara, I'd love to see how she's aged, and if she could continue to abide by her strict code, and if she still follows that, and if she does in turn with her strict code actually help our new protagonist or re-help Shepard. For example, does she join the Normandy crew if Shepard's still around, or the crew, the new crew that perhaps is being formed by Liara? Again, we don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I'm going to say that for every character I talk about, but I think Samara would be an interesting one to return, even if it's more of a mentor / NPC role. Again, it would be really interesting to see her return, or at least get a shout out or a cameo of some kind. And lastly, James Vega. I really didn't like Vega my first playthrough of Mass Effect 3, but after several playthroughs since, I've grown to love him a bit more. And I'd love to see, similar with Kaiden and Ashley, his transformation from sort of more of a soldier, and then obviously in Mass Effect 3 he has the choice to become an N7 operative, potentially becoming a Spectre if it's, you know, several years in the future. And I think one thing that turns a lot of people off with Vega is the fact that he's very immature. So if he's a bit older in the next game, perhaps he's matured a bit, and I think if Vega matured a bit and he kept his sense of humour, I think he would be a very well written character. Again, with any of these characters it depends solely on the writing, but personally I'd love to see Vega return nonetheless. So anyway guys, those have been my 5 characters that I'd love to see return the next game. If you want to click for my previous video, it's on screen now as well as on the end title card as well. But yeah, I did talk about like Tali, Garrus, Liara, Edie, Joker, and I believe Jack. Again, I'd have to go sort of rewatch that. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Grunt, Miranda, Kaiden, Ashley, Samara and Vega here, just because again I might do even a third video, make it a trilogy where I talk about other characters that I haven't necessarily talked about here. So if you guys want to see that, tell me in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and for more Mass Effect content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.